Good morning, everybody. Hello, welcome. There's Silver Hill. Good morning, everybody. Hello. It's Thursday, and here we are again, doing our thing. Hope everybody's well. Lots of waving. Hello. Hi, everybody. Hello. Hello. Thank you for coming back. Oh, look, lots of people coming today. This is really lovely. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you all. I hope you're ready to do a bit of writing. I've got my notebook here ready with lots of ideas for us to do this morning. And I hope you all had a good night's sleep and weren't kept too awake by the storm, because that's funny, we're going to be writing about the weather today. So you probably have got quite a bit to draw on after what was going on last night even. Who we got? There we go. Hello, hi, hello. Woo. Fantastic. Lots of people joining us. We'll just wait a second or two so everybody can get here ready and waiting. Somebody's saying whoopee. Somebody else is saying that's that's very excitable for this early in the morning. Okay, who else have we got here? Lots of nice people coming. Did anybody get snow last night as well? Because we had lots and lots and lots of rain that made it incredibly wet for going out walking dogs and things. Hello, Westerly class. Hello. Anybody get snow? Anybody? Oh, because you're very, very lucky if you did. We don't get much snow down here, unfortunately, even though we're high up in the hills. Payhembury School. Hello, Payhembury. You're quite nearby, aren't you? I know, and I think have I come and visited your school? I'm not sure if I have, but you're certainly within, 10 miles or so of me and Miss Horncastle's class. Hello from Books in the Shade. Oh, yes, somebody's had some snow on Saturday. We did, somebody said. Oh, St Dudley School. Hello, Brindy. Hello, good morning to you. We had hail, says somebody. Goring School. Hello. Hello. Very, very nice to see you all. Okay, we might get started now then, because there's lots of... Hello, Ellis. Hey, says Ellis. It's a bit of a dude, Ellis, by the sounds of it. Hello, Georgia. Okay, right. So here we are on the 21st of January. And I have got my cup of tea, because obviously, you're kind of getting to know the run now a bit, aren't you? But look, this is what I thought I'd select for you this morning. You can't see it very well, actually, can you? Was a slightly different Moomin cup. So it is another Moomin cup. But this one is a slightly newer one. There we go, look. It's got one of the other characters on it. I'm just going to have a little slurp before we get cracking. And then we'll have a little think about what we're going to do today. Now, we're going to talk about the weather, because I think the weather is a massively important part of telling any story, because it puts us in the scene and it gives us an idea of what time of day it is and what time of year it is. And it's a really good way of kind of using all those senses to make you feel like you're in the story. Now, I'm a bit of a weather nerd, I'll be honest. It's one of my little funny things. As well as liking peanut butter and Marmite on toast, I'm also a little bit of a weather nerd. I love weather. I'm really, really interested in it. So it was quite interesting when I got my edits back from my latest book, which I've just finished writing. My editor said to me, "Can we have a bit more weather in it?" Which I thought was quite surprising, because I kind of usually can't stop myself. So just to give you a couple of examples of where I have used the weather in my books, and we can talk about why that is, apart from me being a bit of a nerd. This one, first of all, which is called Strange Star. Now, this was my fourth book, and it sort of takes a lot of inspiration from Frankenstein. So it's a Gothic story, what we call Gothic story. And so in Gothic stories, there's an awful lot of emphasis on the weather. And in this story, something quite dramatic happens quite early on page 75. Now, I might actually read you a little bit. It's a girl, the main character is a girl called Lizzie, and she's in a field with her mum rounding up some cows because they've heard that there's going to be bad weather and they need to get the cows into a field near a home so they can feed them when the weather's bad. And the mother is very, very strong-willed and telling her, "Oh, stop making such a fuss. Come on, we've got to get these cows in." So there's this thunderstorm. It's called what's called thunder snow. So it's a bit of a weather phenomenon. And this is what the mother's doing. It was madness. Mam even looked mad. Her hair, worked loose from its pins, was plastered against her cheeks. She didn't stop to brush it back. In one hand, she still held her pitchfork. As she inched towards the cattle, they flicked their ears anxiously, but didn't move. "Mam, leave them be!" I cried. She took no notice. Her gaze was fixed on those two snow-covered rumps. "Forward!" she cried at the cattle. "Ho! Ho!" She raised her pitchfork. The cattle bellowed and sprang away across the field. Then came an almighty flash. Thunder roared directly above us. I cowered in terror. My first thought was for Peg, that's her sister. Turning to rush back to her, I saw Mam. She hadn't moved. Her pitchfork was still reached out for where the cattle had been. The prongs were blackened, smoke curling off their ends. "Mam?" I went to her, put my hand on my shoulder to shake her. Then came another flash, this time bright blue. There was a crackling sound, the smell of burning. My ears began to sing. A terrible heat poured down my left cheek, my left arm, my leg. My chest seized up. I couldn't breathe. The whole world started lifting and whirling before me, and then a great force threw me clean off my feet. So that's a scene in Strange Star where Lizzie gets struck by lightning in a thunderstorm. And to write that, I mean, I wanted a thunderstorm, so I wanted it to be dramatic and I wanted it to be gothic. But I had to do an awful lot of research into what happens to people who get struck by lightning. And you kind of assume that, you know, it's not a good thing, and it really isn't. You know, you wouldn't want to try it, even for research purposes. But it's really quite an intriguing thing because people do survive it, and it has very odd and very damaging effects on people. So that was a really interesting bit of weather to research. And I have to confess, we'll get on to writing, don't worry. I'm not just going to natter all day. But this is a little bit of a name drop, so you've got to bear with me here, sorry. But this did mean quite a lot to me. Those of you who watch Breakfast TV will know that there is a weather forecaster called Matt Taylor who appears on Breakfast TV. And he contacted me via Twitter a few months ago to say that his daughters really love my books. Now, I was absolutely beside myself, I'll be honest. I was like running around the house going, oh my God. And I had to tell my best friend, who is also a real weather nerd. So you have to bear with me when I go on about weather. But the fact that somebody who was a famous weather forecaster on the telly knew about my books and his children were reading them was possibly one of my career highlights, I have to say. So there we go. Anyway, enough about that shenanigans and nonsense. So what you're going to do this morning is you're going to get your pens. This is our notebook, yours and mine, because this is where all our ideas are in. And we are going to do a few little exercises to start with. Okay. So what I want you to think about first of all is, without looking out the window, and this is one of those things where everybody immediately looks out the window because you tell them not to do something. Without looking out the window, can you tell me what the weather is like currently where you are? So what kind of things tell you, listen. I guess that's the thing I'm trying to kind of say. Can you listen to the weather right now? And can you tell me, just from listening without looking, what the weather is doing? Okay, and I'm going to do this as well. So that will teach me, won't it, for trying to get a pink pen out of my pot. Okay, so without looking out the window, try and tell me by listening, just picking up on little cues, what the weather is doing. Because you never know, your character might be in a story where they can't see what's going on outside, but they're relying on their other senses. Okay. Right. So that's the first thing I wanted you to do this morning. Now, the second thing I wanted you to do was to look out of the window. Now, so if you're sat somewhere near a window, can you look out and describe the sky? What does the sky look like? So just, colours, patterns, anything at all, just tell me what the sky is looking like outside. So this is just to give you an idea. I was going to show you my sky, but the internet is being very slow today, so we won't try and do that. So give me some descriptions of the sky. Somebody's telling me they're a book nerd. I'm one of those as well. Yeah. Okay. So does anybody want to share? You can put them in if you'd like to. If you're online and you'd like to tell me any of your nice words or any of your nice things that you've observed. How can you tell me what the weather's doing just by looking out the window? Just by not looking out the window, even. How many of you have got anything there that they want to share? See if there's anything coming up. Doesn't look like there is yet. That's okay. You're still thinking, still writing. That's cool. But it's really interesting to do that. You know, sometimes when you lie in bed in the morning before you've opened the curtains and you try and guess what the weather's doing. And certainly last night with that storm, you could hear the rain against the window. You could hear the whistling of the wind. And it kind of made you feel, I don't know about you, but it kind of made me feel very cosy. And very kind of, you know, oh, I'm glad I'm inside and not outside. So you could almost tell without kind of getting up and looking that the weather was like it was. And this morning, waking up, because I couldn't hear those things, it sounded really peaceful and really quiet. And those of you who did wake up to snow this morning, that's got a different sort of quiet, hasn't it? When it's snowing, you can kind of, it's almost too quiet. And sometimes you can tell that before you even open the curtains, that something slightly different is going on with the weather. And also the light from snow is different as well. So, and the light is different if it's sunny. So all those things are ways you can tell what the weather's doing without even opening the curtains. And then when you look up at the sky, that's another thing that you can do. When you look up at the sky, you can see sort of maybe what sort of weather's coming. You often get in books, don't you, kind of storms on the way, and people look up and the clouds are getting darker and the sun's gone in and all those sorts of things. So that it's a very good way of kind of telling what the mood is going to be in a story. So outside here today, I'm just looking out my window now. I'm not going to dare to move my screen, but looking at my window here, it's what you call a mackerel sky. It's one of those sort of dappled sort of skies, and there's lots of blue underneath it, and it's a little bit sunny here and there, but it's that sort of washed out sky that you get when there has been lots of rain and a really big sort of storm. Okay, right, so why am I going on about the weather then, apart from because I'm a weather nerd? So I think Olive's going to come and tell us now. I think we're just about to have another little Jack Russell. Come here, a little Jack Russell appearance. Come on, come here, come on. Let me just show her to you, because this is Olive. Whoops! Who's just trashed our computer. Well done, Olive. So this is well, children, because you've all been brilliantly behaved this morning. But she doesn't like the rain very much because it makes her hair even more curly than it is already. So I was going to show you her, but I think we're going to have to kind of leave her to it. So why do we talk about the weather quite a lot in writing then? Why is it such an important thing? I think that's something we also need to think about this morning, as well as how we describe the weather. So I think, apart from, you know, the fact that I like the weather and it really interests me. Remember we talked at the very start in one of the early sessions about your character needs to want something. So in a story, the plot is driven by your character actually wanting something. And then somehow, she wants to get down, something gets in the way of your character wanting that thing. Now, the weather is a very good way of creating an obstacle to your character, for your character to kind of have to overcome. So, like in the bit I just read you from Strange Star, the obstacle that Lizzie is dealing with there is a really dangerous storm. And the consequences of that storm really impact on her life all the way through the rest of the story. So having, so you can think of other examples of things like that, like where there's a shipwreck in a story, a boat in a storm, somebody caught in a snowstorm. Oh, I love a bit of snow. Or someone who's in the desert and it's really hot. So the weather can present a challenge, and that's really, really important too. Okay, so and the weather. So if you're looking for something to challenge your character, if you're looking for some way to make their lives difficult or to slow down the progress that they're making towards achieving the thing they want, then throw in a weather obstacle would be my advice, because that it really does help, and it's a lovely way of just sort of writing lots of nice description and talking about the senses and all those kind of things. Okay, so weather's a really good little tool, if you like, a really good little way of, upping the stakes, upping the drama, and creating a little bit of problem for your character. Now we're going to move on, because it is, we're halfway through already, goodness me. So already we've had internet connections problems, we've had dogs knocking off the screen, we've had all sorts of shenanigans going on this morning. I'm going to have a little slurp of tea. I think I need it. So we are now going to think about not just weather as obstacles, but actually difficult terrain, if you like. So we're branching out now into the sort of natural world and thinking, okay, well, yeah, so my character gets held up by the weather. That's fine. That's okay. We get that. But what about if they've got to go on a journey somewhere? Or what if they live somewhere where the natural world itself is quite, intense and quite full on? So, quite often stories start, think about something like Lord of the Rings. That story starts and we're quite safe in that lovely little Hobbiton, or whatever it's called, the place where they all live in those little burrows. And then the minute they step outside of that and go on their adventure, they're suddenly in a very different part of the world. So all those things are things that I want us to think about this morning, that sense of like your character going away from their world and being somewhere that's slightly more threatening. And I'm going to start that by showing you some pictures. Okay, so we're back onto pictures again. And these are pictures that I've done for us. And so what I want you to do is, when I show you these pictures, I've got 3 of them, I think. I'm going to show you the picture. And what I'd like you to do is think about, when I show you the picture, I'm just going to give you like a few minutes just to kind of look at them, is imagine what that feels like to be there. Imagine what the weather feels like. So how is your character going to be feeling as they're walking along there? And then also, how's the character feeling, and what challenges might they face in that situation? So what might make that, that situation difficult for them? So, and bear in mind that all the pictures I'm going to show you are not going to be of your character walking down your street. All right, or walking around Sainsbury's. They're going to be characters in quite extreme situations. All right, and I'm going to be writing down as well, because I need to fire my imagination up this morning. I've got a lot of writing to do today. You'll notice I haven't shown you my word count yet. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Let's move on. Okay, so let's turn my screen round. Here's our first picture. Right, so what is that character feeling? Probably massively frustrated. Let's try it down there. So what is that character to describe this idea of the weather reflecting sort of moods and drama and things? And that's what it's called. That's exactly right. Well done, yeah. It's a well-known literary technique. So, characters' feelings and the challenges they're going to be facing on this snowy mountain path. So what dangers might they face? What might get in their way? What might be just round the corner for them? more things that could hold the plot up even more and face and create even more challenges for that character. So I'd imagine, I mean, this picture I think is somewhere like in the Himalayas, somewhere like that. So it's certainly very high up in a mountain range. So, you know, your character's going to be feeling all sorts of things that you'll be having as Lisa Thompson. Hello, Lisa Thompson. So think about those things, okay? Right, I'm going to move you on now to the next picture. So let's crack on. So this is our next picture. Oh, imagine driving down that, my word. If you got travel sick, well. So imagine your character is on a bus or on the back of a moped or something going down that hillside. I think it's in China, somewhere like that. But look at that road. Oh. And look at how far it goes as well, all down there. Oh, my word. I don't think I'd be wanting to drive down there. So I want you to think about this time, again, not just how your character's feeling as they're going down that road, but what sort of challenges might they face going down that road? I mean, I'm looking at it and as a driver, and I'm immediately, what happens if somebody is coming in the opposite direction? Who gets to reverse back up the hill? How's Nina? Hello, Nina. So all those things I want you to think about on that road. But can you imagine it? I mean, that's just such. Okay, we're going on to the next one now, and this is our final one. You can't quite see the colour. The colour that's coming up on my screen here is not the same colour as it is on the screen of my computer. It's like a really sort of turquoisey blue on my computer. But imagine if you're on that island. Okay, it's a really, really, really tiny island. How would you be feeling if you're on that island? And what sorts of problems might you face? So what are those things that are going to make your life a challenge? So what are the things that's going to make your life a challenge on that island? You might think, oh, being on a desert island, wow, you just sunbathe all day, wouldn't you? And go swimming. But I don't know. There might be things out there in that sea that you wouldn't want to kind of. That's what I'd be thinking anyway, straight away. So there we go. Okay, that's your a little warm up exercise for you. And what I keep sighing because of this internet this morning. I do apologise. It's all right. We've only got a few minutes left anyway. But what I want you to think about there then is any of those settings that I showed you pictures of, and any of the things that you've written about this morning, we've talked about this morning, about what the weather's like, how the weather can make you feel certain ways, how the weather can be an obstacle to something, then all those things can feed into your story. And that idea of challenges, that's the thing you've always got to be thinking of your character. How am I going to make this harder for my main character? So what I want you to think about and to go away and think about is this. I want you to imagine your character is going on a journey, because I'm going to be getting to this point in my story soon, where my character's got to go on quite a big journey. It's quite a big part of the story. They're going to another part of the world. So they're going to be travelling. And they have... I'm just trying to work out in my head, how long does it take them to get there? Is it going to be a really smooth journey? The journey's not a main part of the story, but it's still going to be a really fun part of the story to write. So I've got to think about all that, about how long I'm going to spend on it, how long, I don't know, all sorts of things, how long it's going to all go on. Now, I was just going to, so what I want you to think about is where's your character going to go? Your character is going to go on a journey. So this is going to be all the same stuff, hopefully, that you've been working on over the last couple of weeks, but it might be a completely different story. That is your choice, remember. It's all down to you. This is your story, nobody else's. But I want you to think about a journey they've got to go on. And I want you to think of 3 obstacles that they face on that journey. 3 things that happen along the way that make it a slightly more complicated journey than it otherwise would be. So it might be that they run into a storm. It might be that they run into a flood. It might be that they face driving down that mountainside on a runaway horse. Oh, I feel ill just thinking about it. It might be all sorts of, I don't know. I mean, it's just ripe for possibilities. But I want you to use some of the stuff we've been talking about today. So weather and terrain, the landscape. What's the landscape like that they're travelling through? Because those are really, really good ways of making your character have to really work for the story. And that's going to make it more exciting. Now, just to give you an update on what I'm doing, because I feel I feel I need to. What I started doing yesterday afternoon was it's what I call farting about, where I've got about sort of 5,000 words. So I've got still the word count's not really kind of increasing yet. And the reason why it isn't increasing is because I'm still digging into the story and trying to find my feet. And writing the first chapter of a book is really, really hard. And it's going to change. When you get your edits back and you've written the end of the story, you'll go back and look at the start of the story and think, I need to have a few more little hints in there. But I'm still farting about with it, really. I'll be honest. So what I've done now is I've taken out some of it and I'm starting to form it into a chapter. So rather than just having it all in one big lump, I've now got 2 files. So, where's my word? You see it? Let's see if I can get down there and show you. So my word count in this document is 2,500 words. Now for me, 2.5, close up of my pens. There we go. Oh, I'm doing so well today, aren't I? I'm so sorry. I think the BBC are going to be inundating me with job offers after this. So 2,500 words for me is too long for a chapter. I like my chapters to be, I've got a bit of a thing about chapters being no longer than about 1,800 words. 2,000 words at a push. So I'm going to need to kind of narrow that down a bit. But that's what I'm doing today. That's what I'm, before my character goes off on her journey. But by the time we speak again, next Tuesday, then maybe we will have a journey to share. That's bold words, isn't it, actually? But it's 10:30, and can I just say, before I go, that while I was drinking my first cup of tea, this is my second cup of tea, I was drinking my first cup of tea this morning in bed, I started reading Lisa Thompson's The Graveyard Riddle, and I only got as far as the first chapter, but that has got the most brilliant first chapter. It's a really, really good first chapter. So that's kind of, spurred me on and given me confidence to sort of think, you get there in the end with the first chapter. And also slightly intimidated me because she's such a brilliant writer. And you can go over to her channel now and watch her interviewing a chap called Nick Osler, who writes for television. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to drink the rest of my cup of tea. And I hope you go on amazing journeys with your characters this week, for the rest of this week, and they experience all manner of weather, because that's the sort of story I'd like to read. And I will see you next week on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And let's pray to the gods of internet that we are a little bit more kind of smooth with it all. But thank you ever so much for joining me. It's lovely to see you all, and lovely to see some of those familiar faces coming back again. Thank you so much. You're really giving me a boost and getting me through this first draft. So thank you so much, and I'll see you again. Take care. Bye, guys. Bye.